The Malinauskas Labor government in South Australia is under fire, and this time over a new public holiday bill which scraps the words ANZAC Day, Australia Day and Christmas Day. They're now going to be referred to as April 25, January 25 and January 26, I should say, and December 25. A former federal Liberal MP Nicolle Flint has rightly called the move un-Australian. She picked it up right from the get-go, and she joins me now in the studio. Nicolle, great to have you as always. What's behind this change?
Well, Cory, the South Australian Labor Party would argue they were just tidying up the public holiday bill and introducing more penalty rates for workers. But I don't believe that for a second. And as I wrote in my Sky News column this week, I think this is just another move by Labor to essentially erase our values and traditions from Western civilisation from another piece of legislation. So they have taken out the words ANZAC Day and Christmas Day, and when the South Australian Liberal Party in the upper house and the lower house tried to add ANZAC Day, Christmas Day back in, but also the King's birthday and for South Australia Proclamation Day, and very importantly, Australia Day, Labor voted it down in both houses. This is what they're trying to do.
So it was deliberate. It wasn't inadvertent. It wasn't an oversight or anything else. You just think they're trying to attack some of these institutions that have brought us together, made Australia such a good place to live.
Yes, because, Cory, if you erase it from the bill now, it doesn't matter for us because we know exactly what these days are and what they represent and why we have Christmas Day.
But later on it becomes Festivus or something like this.
Well, happy holidays.
Yeah.
Right? So, and in one or two generations, when the next, set of parliamentarians review this legislation, they will get to the point where they're like, well, why do we even have this holiday anyway? Can anyone remember? Because if it's not written down, if we're not being reminded, people will forget.
It's so very true, and the long march through the institutions by the left is quite extraordinary. You were the first person to pick this up. Your column went absolutely crazy. People were contacting me hand over fist saying, have I read it? The South Australian Liberal Party seemed to be a little slow off the mark in raising public awareness, because people should be outraged by this.
Well, to be fair to them, they did work very hard in the upper and the lower house, and I was alerted to this sort of as it was just being passed by Labor. So they have done some very good work over the course of the weekend, and today the RSL has come out in the Advertiser saying they want to see the day returned, ANZAC Day returned. Cory, to my mind, you can have all the arguments you want about Australia Day and perhaps even Christmas Day and things, but you cannot touch ANZAC Day. We did not send men and women who then sacrificed their lives, and so many who came home and did not have a quality of life because they had gone to defend our freedom. You cannot touch ANZAC Day, and I feel enormously sorry for all the veterans who have rightly been very upset about this, and their families and people like me. My great-grandfather served in World War I. He was a prisoner of war, died very young because of his injuries that he sustained. It is just reprehensible. And, Cory, what has encouraged me, and I think this is because of the Voice debate, is that people aren't holding back in their opinions now. I think people feel confident that they know that if they speak up on these sorts of things, they will be heard, and that there are a lot of other Aussies who share their same views. And that's what we learnt during the Voice. Before the vote, where no one so resoundingly, people were a bit timid about expressing their view, but I feel that has shifted a lot.
I think you're right, Nicolle. I get that sense as well. People are tired of it.
Yes.
Why should my view not be valid?
Why should our Australian values be
undermined,
run down by Labor and undermined by Labor and erased? They deleted and erased the word ANZAC Day from the public holiday.
It's not just Labor, it is the left of the political spectrum. And you've got a few in your own party, I have to tell you as well, who would chime into this. You don't have to respond to that. And I've got to compliment you on how you describe the veterans who return and have a changed quality of life. I think that is a beautiful way of putting it. And we've got to be mindful of that because it's not just those that are left behind.
No, and it's our Iraq and Afghanistan and people who have served in peacekeeping missions. It's a life-changing experience, and often, unfortunately, not in a positive way. And I was really honoured to have served in Parliament with Andrew Hastie and Phil Thompson and Gavin Pearce, who have real life experience of this.
Yeah, they've been through it and only they understand it, to be honest.